What is good, y'all? Welcome back to the channel, man. We are here, we are back, and officially the draft lottery has been concluded. It just wrapped up literally like 10 minutes ago. It just finished up, and I've already created the draft order on Fanspo, updated everything. For those of you guys who do not know how to do that, you guys have to go log into Fanspo. It's completely free, and you guys can create the lottery because it's not updated yet. So I had to kind of just flip around the picks and stuff. But we are here. We're going to be doing a official mock draft post draft lottery. So make sure you guys let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think. If you guys are fans, I know a lot of Hawks fans, Wizards fans, Spurs fans, Rockets fans, you guys are going to be hyped. And I completely understand why. This is just my opinion. This is what I would do, not if I was, if I was predicting what the GMs would do. This is literally what I would do if I was a GM. So yeah, we're gonna get right into it. We have a lot to get through. So you know what, man, without further ado, I think we should just jump right into it. So make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. And yeah, man, let's get right into it. So with the #1 overall pick, the Atlanta Hawks are on the clock, and they have gotten the #1 overall pick officially. Great coup for the Atlanta Hawks franchise. I don't think they've had a #1 pick in a very long time. So they're here at #1, and they have very many avenues. I feel like Atlanta is going to be one of the centers of the offseason as far as rumor central. You know what I'm saying? Atlanta is going to have a ton of avenues they can go with this pick. They have 2 to 3 options that I do think that they should consider. But ultimately, what I would do if I was the Atlanta Hawks GM is this. So currently, this is their roster right here. Now, obviously, the depth chart of Fanspo is not really the best. So ignore some of the position errors and stuff. But you guys can see right here: Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, Bogdanovich, Jalen Johnson, Clint Capella. That's really their core set of pieces. DeAndre Hunter is in there. Sadiq Bey, obviously. But I do think the Atlanta Hawks should go into a full reset. They just got the #1 overall pick. I think they should go into full rebuild mode. And that means including Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, Clint Capella, and any possible trade scenarios. That's what I think they should go out and do. Listen, man, there are a lot of scenarios that the Atlanta Hawks can go with the #1 overall pick. I think I will just keep it very simple and just very straightforward with this one. I do think that even if they were to keep Trae Young around, I don't think that this player would be a bad fit at all. So this kind of gives me flexibility if I want to keep Trae or if I want to flip Trae, because obviously the draft is before the free agency period even starts. So I do feel like they should go in the direction of trading the guys with value like Trae and DeJounte and Clint and Bogey probably. But I do think even if they want to keep Trae Young, or even if they feel like they're not getting suitable offers or good packages in return for these guys, and they still want to kind of have that retool phase where they're not flipping them just yet, I do feel like in year #1 a player like Alex Sarr would be a really good fit in Atlanta. I just think that the ability with Trae Young for Trae Young to get him the ball. Alex Sarr is a very good shooter. He's a very good rim protector. He can switch out a little bit onto wing and even some guards I've seen him switch out on and hold his own defensively. The only really problem with Alex Sarr to me is that Alex Sarr is just not a big enough presence, with his rebounding and his inside scoring for his size. So that's the only really issue that I see with Alex Sarr's game. But I do think that he is definitely a consensus top 3 prospect for me. He's in my top 2. It's a very high likely chance that I think this happens in real life as well. So I'm going to go ahead and take Alex Sarr. I just do want to make sure and tell you guys that this is going to be without any possible trades. This is really just off the cuff. The draft lottery just wrapped up. So if you guys want me to do a mock draft that includes trades, make sure you guys let me know down in the comment section below. Maybe we'll get right into that. Hawks fans, let me know what you guys think about Alex Sarr, man. I think this is a good pick for you guys. It allows you guys to kind of explore both avenues. You can still build with Alex Sarr. Now, what happens to Clint Capella, Okongwu? Listen, Okongwu hasn't really shown you enough for me to believe that he's a starting center on a, for the future. To me, I mean, he's a 6th overall pick. I think he really had good potential, but it's been a few years now. He really hasn't, tapped into it consistently yet. And I do think Clint Capella is a guy that could definitely get moved. And the thing about Alex Sarr is you can play him at the 4, you can play him at the 5, so there is versatility there. I am going to take Alex Sarr with the number 1 overall pick, and we're going to get on to the Washington Wizards, who are the next pick, and they have a lot of decisions to make here. Now, obviously, I do think their franchise guy right now, the untouchable piece, is Bilal Coulibaly, and I do also like the fit of a Deni Avdija. I think these two could be potentially the wings of the future. Now, Bilal Coulibaly could either play the 2 or the 3, but I think I see him more as a 3. I do think Deni Avdija could be like a 3 or a 4. So I do think if you want to look at your forwards of the future, I think you kind of have that with Bilal and Deni. I think defensively you're really, really solid there. They are really missing a center presence. They don't really have a centerpiece right here, a guy who can be like a big man in the middle, but I don't really think there's anybody really worth taking at number 2. I see Donovan Clingan is up here on ESPN's board. Donovan Clingan to me is a fringe top 10 prospect. I don't think he's top 5 at all. I think ESPN has overhyped him a lot. No disrespect to Donovan Clingan, but I just think that there's a lot of prospects I would take over him. But I do think that another hole that they could really fix in their team is the guard position. Now, we saw Jordan Poole when he was coming off the bench. He looked really, really good. I do think that is Jordan Poole's best position when he's the 6th man coming off the bench. And I do think he's more of a combo than a point. So I think the point guard position could be something to invest in here. Also, you have Tyus Jones is going to be a free agent, unrestricted. And I do think they can kind of tap into that point guard position. So I'm going to go with one of my favorite players in the draft class. I'm going to go with Nikola Topic out of Serbia. I think he's going to be a guy who can really set up a lot of these guys to score the ball. He can definitely help with the inside scoring. Now, obviously, that means that your 2 and your 5 are going to have to be pretty good jump shooters, because Topic is not really the best at shooting the 3, and neither is Deni or Bilal. Bilal is pretty solid, but he's not elite by any means. So the spacing is a little bit of a concern with the core pieces there, but I think they can make it work, especially because I think they desperately need a guy who can really control their offense. Tyus Jones did a really good job for them last year, but Tyus Jones is not the answer for the future. You know what I'm saying? He's more of a right now piece. I'm going to go with Nikola Topic, who can be that future point guard for them. And then with the 3rd overall pick, we have the Houston Rockets. I think they are in a very, very good position, man. I believe they have 2 lottery picks. Listen, the Houston Rockets are in a very unique position where they can compete right now, and they can also, kind of look to their future. I think they have secured their center for the future in Alperen Şengün. And then Jalen Green has had moments where he's looked really good and some moments where he hasn't looked that great. But I do like the flashes that I've seen from Cam Whitmore. Amen Thompson has looked really good. I do think the plan is, after Fred VanVleet's contract is up, I do think Amen Thompson will transition into being the point guard of the future for that team. I like Jabari Smith Jr. at the 4. I think Cam Whitmore could potentially, if Jalen Green is inconsistent, could take his spot, man. Jalen Green is a really good player, but the thing about Jalen Green is that he's really up or he's really down. You know what I'm saying? So Cam Whitmore, I do think, could really compete with Jalen Green. I think Cam Whitmore is more of a 2 to me than a 3. I think they could really secure and lock down their wing position here. I like Tari Eason, but Tari Eason missed a lot of time with injuries, so I'm not really sure how he's going to look when he comes back. I'm going to take my favorite player in the entire draft, or one of my favorites, actually. He's probably top 3 for me as far as my favorites are concerned. He's actually not even, on any of these top spots right here, but I'm going to go with Ron Holland out of the G League Ignite. This is not going to be a popular pick. I know a lot of people are going to have Ron Holland a lot lower, but I'm super high on this kid, man. I think, his athleticism is off the charts. I think, just look at the athleticism they already have with Jalen Green and Cam Whitmore and Amen. Like, you're just adding another athletic freak who can really just, score in transition. They're going to be one of the best transition teams in the NBA. If they take Ron Holland. And I do think defensively he has a lot of upside as well. The only problem with Ron Holland is the jump shot, but I think you can make up for that. You have Jabari Smith as a good jump shooter, and you have Jalen Green, Cam Whitmore that can both shoot the ball. Fred VanVleet is more than capable of shooting the 3. So I'm going to go with Ron Holland here with the 3rd overall pick. And we're going to go on to the San Antonio Spurs. Now, San Antonio, again, is another team that has 2 lottery picks in this draft. Now, they could go in a lot of different directions here. I like a couple of guys, for them. I do think they need a definite guy who can just set up Victor Wembanyama. The point guard position is lacking. Trey Jones to me is solid, but I'm not sure if Trey Jones is really the point guard of the future for them. I think they want to get younger here. There are a couple of directions I could go with this. Obviously, considering the fact that they have an 8th overall pick coming up, you don't want to put all your eggs into the basket when you have another pick coming up. You want to kind of spread the wealth and kind of see who you can take with your second pick as well. The other avenue that I think they can definitely improve on is probably the small forward position. I like Devin Vassell, could play the 2. I think Keldon Johnson might be the one who's kind of the odd man out of this whole core, because they're gonna have to pay a lot of these guys soon, and Jeremy Sohan's gonna have to get paid. Devin Vassell's gonna have to get paid. Keldon Johnson's gonna have to get paid. Obviously Vic when his time comes, and then they're gonna be selecting 2 lottery picks. So I think Keldon Johnson could potentially, I'm not saying he's gonna get traded, but I think he could be the odd man out here. There are a lot of players that I really like, but I do think one player, if you're talking about a guy that really can just set up Victor Wembanyama, he's not a natural 1 by any means. Like, he didn't play 1 in college, but I do think he has point guard skills, and I love his game. He is my favorite player in the draft class. I think he is a top 5 prospect, and I don't know if this is going to be a popular pick here. Obviously, there's going to be popular picks like Reed Shepherd or Rob Dillingham, but I just don't know if those are the best fits. And I think in this draft, you have to draft more with fit than you ever have in previous drafts, because this is not the draft where you have clear-cut, prospects that are like head and shoulders above the rest. Like, you have a lot of guys that are very close to each other, and it's kind of like who you prefer. And I think with San Antonio, the thing about them is they need desperately the guy who can really spoon feed Victor Wembanyama. I think he plays really hard. He can play the 1, he can play the 3. I do think that he is a very, very versatile defender, one of the best in the class. He will definitely fit Popovich's identity. I'm going to go with Stephon Castle at number 4. This might be a surprising pick for you guys, but this is just my favorite pick for them. Again, I'm not a Spurs fan. If you guys are a Spurs fan, if you guys want somebody else, let me know down, in the comment section, but don't be like too crazy about it, man. This is just my opinion. It's not, what I say doesn't mean, much besides just me giving my opinion to you guys. So I'm not a guru by any means. I'm just a guy who watches a lot of college hoops and loves the draft. So this is my favorite time of the year. So yeah, man, I'm super happy that the lottery has commenced. Now we have the Pistons, who have dropped to number 5. That is a pretty big L for them, I'm not gonna lie. And I do think a team like the Pistons could use some perimeter shooting, man. I like some of the guys that they have. Jalen Duren, I think, is their franchise center for the future. I'm a huge fan of his game, and obviously they have Cade Cunningham. Obviously, Asar Thompson was a pretty big success for them last year until he got hurt. Prayers up to him, by the way. Jaden Ivey he's been on and off at times, but I definitely do think that they could use some shooting with that lineup. So I'm gonna go ahead and just go out right now and select Zachary Reese-Shea with the 5th overall pick. He's 6'10", wing who can really shoot the ball. I do like his ability to guard as well. I'm gonna go with him. And then that brings me to number 6 with the Charlotte Hornets. Now, Hornets is interesting, man. They just hired Charles Lee from the Boston Celtics. I thought that was a pretty good hire. I'm not gonna lie. They can go a couple of different ways here. I like, obviously Brandon Miller was a huge success for them. The thing about the Charlotte Hornets is that their whole franchise direction really depends on the health of LaMelo Ball and Mark Williams, to an extent, because I think LaMelo and Mark Williams, when they play and when they're on the court, you have them two alongside Brandon Miller, and I really think you have a good young core for the future. Now, they have a couple of pieces here and there that I do like. I like Trey Mann, the acquiring of Trey Mann at the deadline. I like Nick Smith Jr., who they drafted late in the first round last season. I do think Miles Bridges will be out the door. I don't think he's going to be back in Charlotte. Bryce McGowan is a guy that I had a first round grade on. He hasn't really done much since he's been drafted, but he's had his moments here and there. Leaky Black, I think, is a really good defender. I do think they have to secure their forwards of the future here. Brandon Miller is obviously one of them. But yeah, I think the point guard position, the center position, and Brandon Miller are pretty much set for me as far as future pieces. I do think they could, shore up their 2, their 3, their 4, depending on what they like Brandon Miller as. So for that reason, there's a lot of guys here that I could go with, and this is really tough for me. But I'm actually gonna go with a guy like Matas Buzelis, man. I love Matas's game. I think he's a guy who can really just get in where he fits in. Very similar to like Franz Wagner. I really see that type of player in him. Brandon Miller is more of a guy that I believe can really shoot the ball well. Matas is going to be a guy who can get to the rim. He's going to do a lot of little things. He can handle the ball even. You know, when LaMelo has stretches where he's on the bench or when he's not playing, you can have a guy like Matas handle the ball, run your offense at times. I love his versatility. I love his defense. He's one of the most versatile players in the draft. I'm going to go with Matas. And then we're going to go down to number 7. With the Portland Trailblazers, they have a multiple different ways they can go here. I like a lot of these prospects for them, but I'm just gonna go ahead and go with Cody Williams, man. I like Cody Williams with them a lot. I think they're kind of set on guards, and I think they do like DeAndre Ayton. Cody Williams is more of a, you know, kind of like an untapped guy who has a ton of potential to me. He does remind me a lot of Jeremy Grant, who's already on that team. So yeah, Cody Williams will be the pick here. And then the San Antonio Spurs are up again, and they have the 8th overall pick. Now, obviously, I went with a guy like Stephon Castle first. The Stephon Castle, the thing about Stephon Castle is that he can play the 1, he can play the 3. So I think if you want to double up on guards here, you can. That's exactly what I'm going to do, man. I'm going to have him taking Rob Dillingham. I think Rob Dillingham can be a really good off-the-ball shooter / scorer for them. He can handle the ball as well. He can definitely... You know, he definitely has playmaking and passing vision. And the thing about drafting him and Stephon Castle is that they're both extremely different players, even though they might play similar positions. Like, Stephon is more of an inside presence. He handles the ball. He gets into the paint. He'll make the pass. He'll rebound. He'll defend. Rob Dillingham is a shooter, a scorer, a guy who can just create a shot. He's a shifty. You know, obviously Rob with the shifts, man. That's what his tag is. So I'm going with Rob Dillingham, and we're on to the 9th pick already, man. This is very, very nice. I'm super happy with this. And we're on the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, the Memphis Grizzlies have a lot of different avenues they can go with this 9th overall pick. I like a lot of players that they have already on their roster. But I do think that, you know, for their future, I do like Jaren Jackson more as a 4 than a 5. So I think they could go with the guy like Donovan Clingan. They already have a very good defensive 4 in Jaren Jackson. I think those two in the front court would be absolutely insane. It would be very similar to Minnesota. You know, you have Cat stretching the floor, you have Gobert down low. Not saying that they're gonna have the same impact day one, but Donovan Clingan is very reminiscent to me, like a guy who can be a Gobert level defender if he keeps defending the way he has done. And then obviously you have Jaren, who's the defensive player of the year once upon a time, and he also is a really good outside shooter. I think they complement each other really well, and I do think it's more beneficial to me with having Jaren at the 4 rather than the 5. We have Utah with the 10th overall pick, and with Utah, again, a lot of different ways they can go here. I think the extension for Lauri Markkanen will come pretty soon. So yeah, I think we're gonna be pretty solid that Lauri Markkanen is gonna come back. Obviously, they have Walker Kessler. I like Keontae George. I like Colin Sexton, but I'm not sure how long Colin Sexton will be there. I think Jordan Clarkson might get traded. I think they are going to be trying to address that guard position. Reed Shepherd is the best player available. I'm going to go with Reed Shepherd here. Can play both on and off the ball for them. I think this is a good pick. And then the Bulls are on the clock at number 12 now. The Bulls have a lot of decisions to make. The Vucevic decision. Is he going to be back or not? Are they going to try to move on from him? DeMar DeRozan is a free agent. Zach LaVine is a guy who's been on the trade block for some time now. Who do the Bulls want to go with here? And Alonzo Ball is a guy who he just signed his. I think he accepted his player option, or I think he accepted his player option for a year. So Chicago's in a very interesting spot. My best player available is either Jacoby Walter or Dalton Connect, but I think just with what Chicago has, it would be more smart for me to go with the Jacoby Walter rather than a Dalton Connect, just because Jacoby Walter is a guy who can play on the ball. Dalton Connect is a guy who I think in the NBA will be more of an off the ball player, and to me, they don't really have Chicago the on the ball creation in order for me to pair them alongside of Dalton Connect. I think Dalton Connect would be much more suited to go to a team that, is a team that is going to be a contender or very close to that. So I'm going to go with Jacoby Walter at number 12, and we're going to have the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are on the clock, and I think this is where I'm going to go with Dalton Connect, man. I love the fit. I think You have Josh Giddey, who I think has kind of played himself out of the starting lineup in this series against the Mavericks with his lack of shooting. And I think Dalton Knecht will fix that right away. He can slide right into that spot. 6'6", will shoot the lights out the ball. I like him at number 12. And then we have Sacramento at 13. Very, very interesting slot here for Sacramento. They can go a lot of different ways. I like a lot of guys for them. Obviously, they have De'Aaron and Sabonis, and then Keegan Murray has shown a lot of flashes that he's going to be a really good player in this league. They have Keegan at the 3 here. I think Keegan's more of a 4 to me, but I don't know. That just might be me. I do think that they're going to be losing out on Malik Monk in free agency and potentially Harrison Barnes as well. I think wing is their biggest need, but looking at everybody here, it's not really a big wing, surplus, if you guys, may say that. But I think there is a guy. I mean, I'm not sure why they have Tyler Smith listed as a small forward. He's definitely not a small forward. I'm just gonna go ahead and take a guy who I think is going to be a very, very good player in this league, and I think this might be a little bit of a reach, but I'm going with Tristan da Silva at number 13. This might be a little high, I understand, for a lot of people, but I think with Sacramento, this guy's a winning player. He will help them right away. He can slide into that Harrison Barnes spot. I think Harrison Barnes might be out the door pretty soon. I like Tristan da Silva at that spot, man. I really, really, really like Tristan da Silva at that spot. And then we have Portland again. Portland selected. Obviously, they got, who did they get? Cody Williams. This is interesting with Portland. They could go a lot of different directions here. I'm going to have him taking Kyle Filipowski. And that's going to be the last pick of the lottery for me. We have the Miami Heat, who are next up on the clock. We talk about Heat culture. I'm a Heat fan. This is my favorite pick for the Miami Heat in this draft. Devin Carter out of Providence is a Heat culture pick. Guard who averages 9 rebounds per game. It reminds me a lot of Josh Hart. I love Devin Carter's game. I think I'm going to have him going to the Miami Heat. We're going to speed through the last 15 just because we're not really on the lottery anymore. 76ers are on the clock. I really think that they just need to fix that wing position. Tobias Harris is obviously going to be out the door pretty soon. So you know what? Give me Jared McCain. Jared McCain is not a wing, but Jared McCain will definitely help their shooting. And you can put him alongside Tyrese Maxey in that backcourt. I like Jared McCain there. Next, you have New Orleans at 17. You have a lot of avenues here you can go with New Orleans, but I do think Jonas Valanciunas is a guy that should be out the door pretty soon. I love the stretchability of Tyler Smith. He's more of a 4 or 5 to me rather than a 3. I'm not sure why they have him listed at the 3 here, but he's definitely more of a big to me. So I'm taking Tyler Smith. Reminds me a lot of PJ Washington, left-handed version. And then we have Orlando. Orlando needs shooting more than anything. Unfortunately, there aren't really like a surplus of shooters on the board right now. If you wanted to, you could reach and take a guy like Johnny Furphy. He's probably the best shooter on the board. Saloon is all right, but I don't really think they need. Another guy at that position. They have Paolo. They have Jonathan Isaac. At the point guard position, Isaiah Collier is not really a shooter at all. He's quite the opposite. So this is a pretty tough spot for them. But I don't know, man. I really think that they can make it work with the amount of forwards that they have if they kind of slide one at the 5, play small ball a little bit. This is a tough spot for Orlando. I would definitely trade this pick, and this is not really my favorite fit here. I definitely think Johnny Furphy is a much better fit than Tijon Saloon because of the fact that it's more of a position of need than the power forward position, but Saloon can still shoot the ball pretty well. I'm going with Saloon at number 18 to the Orlando Magic. Just beef up on that length. Pause. And we have the Toronto Raptors, who are at number 19. Toronto, Masai Ujiri will love Yves Missi. He is a Toronto Raptors type of player. Masai Ujiri loves this type of prospect, man. Just hard playing centers. They did a very similar thing when they drafted Christian Koloko. I think Yves Missi is a much better prospect than Koloko, so I think they definitely need a center as well. So I'm going to go with that for Toronto. Cleveland, this is tough for Cleveland. I think Cleveland could definitely use some wing help over here. I'm seeing Isaiah Collier fall more and more. I'm not really a fan of that, but I'm not sure Isaiah Collier is an option here for Cleveland. So I'm gonna go with Kevin McCullough, and I'm gonna have him be number 20. And then we have New Orleans again. I think this is where they could take a guy like Isaiah Collier. You know, obviously CJ McCollum's not really a true point guard. They have Dyson Daniels and Alvarado, but I don't know. I mean, maybe then in that case, Isaiah Collier is not the best fit because they already have a couple of guys that they're trying to develop there. I mean, Alvarado's not really developing, but y'all know what I mean, like with Dyson Daniels. But at the same time, they're just very, very deep in a lot of positions. So I'm not really sure where they really need anything besides that center spot. So I'm gonna go with Isaiah Collier. Zach Edey is not getting drafted in my first round. I hope you guys understand that. I'm not a huge Zach Edey guy at all. But if you guys like Zach Edey, that's completely up to you. But I'm not a huge Zach Edey guy. So if you guys see him falling for a reason, it's because of that. Phoenix Suns. I mean, Phoenix Suns could take Zach Edey, but Phoenix Suns need a point guard. And who better than Tyler Kolek, who is, I believe, one of the best point guards in the class. I'm super, super high on this kid. Plays hard. It reminds me of a guy that they previously had in Goran Dragic a little bit, but realistically, I could see him as like a left-handed TJ McConnell. I like that fit with Tyler Kolek at number 22. The Bucks at 23 is interesting. Now, obviously, you have the health of Chris Middleton, the age of Chris Middleton. You have Brook Lopez here. Maybe the Bucks could go out and take a Zach Edey. I'm not sure if they're going to do that at 23. There are a couple of guys that I like, with Milwaukee. I like Deron Holmes a lot with them. Reminds me a lot of Miles Turner. I like Khalil Ware. I like PJ Hall. There are a couple of players. Ryan Dunn is a good defensive prospect for them. They could definitely use the defense for sure. There are some guys, man. I'm thinking my best players available: Terrence Shannon, Johnny Furphy, Kayshawn George, Deron Holmes, Ryan Dunn. That's 5, right? And then, that would make it 5 right there. I like Bub Carrington as well out of Pitt. But see, with Milwaukee is interesting. I think they definitely need to address that center position. So, you know what? I'm going to go out and take Deron Holmes. I think Deron Holmes, they have him at 50, which I think is extremely disrespectful to Deron Holmes. I think Deron Holmes is a way better prospect than 50. He's a top 40 prospect, 100%. To me, he's top 30, but I think anything lower than 35 is pretty disrespectful to Deron Holmes. New York Knicks are on the clock now, and the thing about the Knicks is Julius Randle, he's obviously going to be back at some point. We'll see how that works. I think they're pretty solid on their centers, man. I think Hartenstein has really played like a stud over these past few playoff series that they've been in. They obviously got OG Anunoby. Their guard position's a little, not shaky, but I think they could use some shooting and spacing there. I'm gonna go with a guy like Johnny Furphy. I think Johnny Furphy's a really, really good fit in New York. Can definitely space the floor for a guy like Jalen Brunson. Can be another guy like Dante DiVincenzo for them who can just light it up. And they have back-to-back picks here, so that's why I took Johnny Furphy with one of them. The next pick, I think this is a guy who's a Tom Thibodeau, type player. Ryan Dunn, man, one of the best defensive prospects. To me, the best defensive prospect in the class. I love Ryan Dunn's game. He's going to be number 25. And then we have the Wizards, who have the Clippers pick. They took Topic with number 1. I definitely want to give him a center. I'm going to go with Khalil Ware. I like Khalil Ware. I think he has a lot of upside. So I'm going to go with that there. We have Timberwolves at 27. Ryan Dunn would have been a good fit here as well. But I do think they could use. Timberwolves have a lot of positions covered, man. They don't really have many weaknesses. I think backup point guard could be an area for them to work on. Monte Morris, Jordan McLaughlin. What's the future there? Mike Conley's getting older. I like their wings. I really like their wings. I love their front court, obviously. Gobert, Cat, Naz Reid. That's really good. I'm gonna just go out and take Bub Carrington from Pitt. I love his game. He's combo guard to me. He can really score and shoot the ball. Denver Nuggets. Again, they could definitely use some bench help. Their bench really got depleted. And depending on what goes on with his case, Terrence Shannon is a guy that I'm a huge fan of. I went to Illinois. I saw Terrence Shannon play in person many times. You know, I've met the guy. I think he's an absolute stud. Now I'm not sure what's going to happen with his. He has obviously the case, the allegations, whatever happens with that, we'll see. But I think Terrence Shannon, if he gets cleared and if he's innocent, proven, everything like that, I do think that they could use some bench scoring. And Terrence Shannon is a stud. He led the NCAA in scoring in the tournament, I believe, or was very close to being number one. He was up there for sure. And taking him at the back end in the draft, I think is fine. Utah at 29 took Reed Shepherd. Best players, on the board, I think Kaishan George for sure. Kaishan George. And then I like Oso Ighodaro. I like Dylan Jones. I like Oso Ighodaro. I'm going to go ahead and take Kaishan George for Utah. Can be like a 1, 2, or 3. And then for the Boston Celtics, give me Dylan Jones. He's a winning player, man. I love him out of Weber State. I love this pick for Boston. And this is my full first round mock draft updated with the lottery being taking place today. A lot of storylines are going to be made. This is just kind of my first look at everything. Again, a lot of these are kind of just rough drafts. I sped through the last 15, so don't really take the last 15 that seriously. Obviously take that into account. These I didn't just BS these picks. I gave good reasons for each pick, but I didn't really deep dive into the last 15. But the first 14, I'm pretty confident on my reasonings for all those. So I think I did a pretty good job. But again, it's up to you guys what you guys think in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys think. We're gonna wrap it up, man. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And yeah, man, I'll see you later as always. Have a nice day. Peace.